No one understood the billionaire Chinese CEO in the meeting till Black kitchen helper spoke Chinese. He was invisible in that room, just another kitchen helper, moving quietly in the background. No one noticed him. No one respected him. All eyes were on the billionaire CEO, a man whose words carried weight no one else could comprehend. The meeting stalled, tension thickened, and frustration hung heavy in the air. But what happened next stunned everyone into silence. A man they thought had no voice spoke the language no one expected, and in that moment, the balance of power shifted. What happens when the one dismissed as the least becomes the one everyone must listen to? Marcus had been working in the grand corporate tower for 3 years, but no one in the boardroom ever really saw him. As a kitchen helper, his days started before sunrise, slicing vegetables and polishing silverware while executives sipped coffee and discussed mergers. He'd never understand. Outside the gleaming windows, the city moved on without him, his life invisible, routine, and predictable. He wasn't bitter. He just knew his place. But deep down, Marcus carried a skill no one in that building suspected. He spoke fluent Chinese, a language he'd learned growing up with his grandmother, a connection to a world most of his colleagues ignored. Yet he had never thought it would matter until today. The boardroom was tense. The billionaire CEO, Mr. Lee, had flown in from Shanghai for a high-stakes meeting, his presence alone intimidating every executive. The discussion was stalling, critical. Decisions hung in the balance. Marcus moved silently, refilling water glasses, observing quietly. He could feel the frustration in the air, the impatience of powerful men who believed no one else had answers. Something in Marcus told him this day would be different. Something about the way the CEO looked around, sharp and demanding, hinted at a challenge no one expected. And no, Marcus had always stayed in the shadows. A moment was approaching, one that would test the unspoken limits of power, respect, and perception. The meeting had reached a deadlock. Charts were spread across the polished conference table, projections blinking on the screen, but the executives couldn't agree. Mr. Lee's sharp tone cut through the tension, each word a reminder of the authority he commanded. Frustration grew, voices rose, and a subtle undercurrent of impatience lingered, except for Marcus, who moved silently along the edges of the room, refilling glasses and keeping watch. At first, he thought he would remain invisible, just as he always had. But then he noticed it, a critical point in the conversation that no one seemed to understand. Mr. Lee was referencing a complex contract clause written in Chinese, and several executives exchanged nervous glances, muttering excuses and half-translations. The CEO's brow furrowed, his voice rising with irritation. "Why is no one answering?" he demanded. The weight of the question pressed down on the room. Marcus felt a surge of something he rarely allowed himself, the knowledge that he could help, if only someone would listen. But hesitation gripped him. He was just the kitchen helper, invisible to the people who held power. Every instinct told him to stay silent, to fade into the background, to survive another day unnoticed. Yet the unfairness of the moment was unbearable. These men and women, so confident and commanding, were floundering over something he understood perfectly. A bead of sweat formed on his forehead. He glanced at the CEO, whose frustration was now evident in every measured word. A mistake here could cost millions, even damage reputations. Marcus's heart pounded as he debated: speak up and risk humiliation, or stay silent and watch the moment slip into chaos. Then it happened. A pause. The CEO turned sharply toward him, as if sensing someone in the room held the missing key. Marcus's hand trembled as he cleared his throat, drawing every eye. "Sir," he said, his voice steady despite the adrenaline. "I can explain." This in Chinese. The room froze. Whispers rippled around the conference table. The kitchen helper, standing there in a simple uniform, daring to speak directly to the billionaire's CEO. Mr. Lee's eyes widened, a flicker of surprise crossing his face. For the first time, the balance of the room shifted. Every executive felt it. Something unexpected was about to happen, something that no one had predicted, not even the CEO himself. Marcus took a deep breath. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Could he navigate this moment without disaster? Could the words he spoke bridge the gap between invisibility and recognition? The answer hung in the air, silent and heavy, as every pair of eyes fixed on him. He began to speak, articulating the complex clauses with precision and fluency, translating nuances and cultural context that the executives had missed entirely. The room was still utterly captivated. Mr. Lee's initial surprise evolved into measured appreciation, his sharp gaze softening as he realized the magnitude of Marcus's knowledge. Every executive in the room had been forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. They had judged someone based on appearance, title, and role rather than capability. Their assumptions, subtle, unspoken, yet powerful, had blinded them. And here was Marcus, a man they had overlooked every day, delivering clarity with calm authority. The CEO leaned back slightly, nodding. The tension that had dominated the room dissolved into astonished silence. Marcus's colleagues exchanged glances, their expressions a mixture of shame and newfound respect. For the first time, the kitchen helper was seen. He had transcended the walls that society and hierarchy had built around him. And in that moment, Marcus understood something profound. Power is often mistaken for intelligence, visibility for competence, and respect for position. True authority, the kind that changes outcomes, can come from the most unexpected places. He had shattered assumptions and challenged the system without confrontation, without anger, simply by being capable, brave, and unapologetically himself. Room remained quiet as Marcus concluded his explanation. Mr. Lee's nod was subtle but deliberate, a recognition that transcended words. The executives, stunned into humility, realized they had underestimated someone they had dismissed purely based on race and occupation. In that instant, Marcus was no longer just a kitchen helper. He had become a symbol of unseen potential, of respect earned through courage and skill, not titles or uniforms. As the meeting ended, Marcus returned to his duties, that he knew he had crossed an invisible line. He had challenged the status quo and forced those around him to rethink assumptions. And while the immediate victory was personal, the lesson was universal. How often are voices ignored, talents overlooked, and brilliance dismissed simply because someone doesn't fit society's mold? Marcus's story wasn't just about one. meaning it was a reflection of a world that frequently underestimates those deemed invisible. And the question lingered long after the doors closed. How many times do we overlook genius, kindness, and capability simply because of race, class, or title? In the end, the true power isn't in wealth, status, or authority. It lies in seeing the unseen, listening to the unheard, and giving every individual a chance to rise. Marcus reminded everyone that day, respect and recognition are earned, yes, but they are also the responsibility of those who hold the privilege to notice.